2 years ago, I was on the verge of the biggest risk that Minimum had ever taken. I was changing factories. And the reason why I was changing factories is because before this, I had been printing on blanks. If you don't know, a blank t-shirt or blank item is a mass-produced clothing item that is then sent to a factory. They print on it and send it to you. Now, some benefits for this: there's usually very low MOQs, minimum order quantities. In fact, the factory that I had been working with let me print on as few as one of whatever style that I wanted. The issue was that if someone else purchased the same blanks as me, they would have the same clothes as me. The only difference would be the design on it. And for me, design is secondary to the feel of the garment. And the blanks that I was using were high quality, but they weren't quite what I wanted in terms of garments. So I moved to a new factory. And this one was risky because they had a much higher minimum order quantity than I was used to, 100. Coupled with that, I had seen the market moving back towards double sleeve t-shirts. This is a staple from when I was a kid, where you put a long sleeve shirt under a short sleeve shirt and you wear them together. In fact, after a while, people began sewing the sleeves under the short sleeves to make one garment. It's easier to wear, but it looks like two. I had the brilliant idea of, what if I took a heavyweight hoodie material and made it into a double sweatshirt? And then this garment, the Daybreak sweater, was born. I worked with the factory for over 2 months with 2 different potential patterns that we worked on, and I created this garment with them. And I was excited about it. This is something that I was deeply invested in. And the features of it are amazing. It is a 400 GSM 100% cotton French terry. It has very long sleeves that are designed to stack at the wrist. It's a crew neck sweatshirt, and it's been acid washed and enzyme washed for softness. Obviously, all my garments now are enzyme washed because I love softness. On the front, you've got this beautiful raised embroidery. And on the back, you have this huge ghost print, screen printing, along with the word flea. So it started as the Daybreak sweater, and then I changed it to the flea sweater after that's what everyone called it. Drop day arrives for season 3. I release my garments, a hoodie, this sweatshirt, a couple of t-shirts, and nothing happens. Well, the hoodie sold, the t-shirt sold, and this sort of trickled. Some faithfuls from the brand picked them up, but for the most part, I was left with about 80 of them after drop day, which is terrible. Before this, I would sell usually 40 to 50% of my stock within the first day. So these sat, and they trickled. Over the next several months, hoodies sold out eventually, t-shirts sold out eventually, and I was left with over 50 of these shirts. They crawled. In fact, I gave myself 3 or 4 of them because it seemed like no one wanted them. And I kept wondering to myself, what was a mistake that I made? I mean, this is a high quality garment. And the funny thing is that people that bought it kept messaging me, which was weird. And they would tell me, I wasn't really sure about this, but now it's my favorite sweatshirt. Or, oh, I didn't know if this was going to be something I would like, and now I love it. In fact, my brother was one of them. He told me that he didn't even want one for free when I dropped it. But then, now, after he got one, he bought one from me eventually, and now he wears it constantly. In fact, he was wearing it today when I left my house. The interesting thing about this is that this was the biggest risk that I had taken in my brand. And the funniest thing about it is it feels like a failure. But then something weird happened. About a year later, in fact, just a few months ago, I finally sold out of this shirt. I packaged the last one. In fact, I had to give away the last 3 or 4 just because I wanted them out of my warehouse. And something weird started happening. People started messaging me asking for this sweatshirt. Oh, do you have the Daybreak sweatshirt? Do you have a flea sweatshirt? Oh, what is this garment? Anytime it appears in any kind of content or someone posts a fit pic in the Discord with it on, people ask what it is. And 2 days ago, I got a notification that someone had sold their Daybreak sweater to someone else, which makes this the second garment that I've heard of that sold. The original price for these was $80, and they sold their Daybreak sweater to a new fan of the brand for $150. which is astonishing to me. But I consider this to be a failure. There's a famous saying in the stock market, which is being early is still wrong, or being early is worse than being late. And in this case, I could see that fashion and the whole fashion zeitgeist in terms of streetwear was moving towards double sleeves. And I could tell that it was going to be big, but it wasn't until the last few weeks, honestly, or even a couple months, that double sleeves have really re-entered the public consciousness for fashion. The funniest thing about this is that now this brand, this sweatshirt having been sold out for, a few months and being dropped last year, makes everybody who bought one an early adopter. One of the weird things about fashion is that you're trying to predict where the market is going, but not too early, right? If you're too late, then it's boring, it's passé, it's played out, you're a trend chaser. But if you're too early, people just look at your item and go, what the fuck is this? And you're kind of left struggling. You have garments that you can't move. You've got warehouse in space that's being held up by this garment that becomes an albatross hanging around your neck. And this garment was profitable. I made money on it. But the mental toll that came from this type of garment, from this sitting there, from me wondering if I was a failure, for asking if moving to cut and sew garments was even the right move for the brand, that sort of psychic drag actually caused me a lot of pain and trepidation. Funny enough, I'm doing the same thing again. The next crew neck that I've released is the astrologer sweater. Now this one, I think I've done a better job of showing the uniqueness of, and I think that in that case, I've made a sharp enough tangent away from the mainstream to get people to buy it anyway. And it is selling on par with this hoodie, which is crazy to me because this hoodie is very much in line with the cultural fashion zeitgeist. But the sweater with tethers on it and a huge back print, a little bit more unique and different. And I do think that that sweater is 100% ahead of the market. In fact, it's probably going to sell slowly. It's selling as well as this, but it will sell fairly slowly. And when it's done, I can almost guarantee you that I'm going to start getting messages about it. Oh my God, when are you bringing back the astrologer sweater? Oh, I want to find an astrologer sweater. And one of the funny balancing acts of treating a streetwear brand like a fashion house, like haute couture, is that you have these items that you're trying to make that push boundaries in some way, but then at the same time, you do need to be profitable and you have to move things eventually. If I was some rich kid who got a fat check from daddy for $10,000 a month to fuck off and do whatever I want with, I wouldn't care. In fact, my garments would be a lot weirder. But the weird thing is, for right now, I'm in this delicate balancing act of working with the most commercially acceptable items that are beautiful on flat lays that people are excited about when they buy them, and then giving myself 1 to 2 items every drop that are much more conceptual and weird and strange and pushing the boundaries of fashion. All this to say, sometimes when you are doing the right thing, it can feel like the wrong thing simply because the market isn't validating a great idea that you're doing. The biggest thing you can remember is that sometimes when you feel that you are right, you need to trust your gut and you need to lean into that, even if it takes a really long time. One more example, I have these tarot videos that I do where I sit down at my packing station and I read a tarot card for my clothing brand customers. And the funny thing is that I knew it would be a successful concept. You know, it's jokey sometimes it's about clothes, sometimes it's about relationships. It's always real, but most of the time it's kind of humorous. And the first 30 or 40 of those videos, I got nothing. 200 views, 300 views, 1 like, and I just kept doing it. And I kept doing it because I knew in my gut that it was going to be successful. And eventually it was. And when it was in a big way. One that I released 3 days ago just got 1.6 million views on Instagram. It led to a new 1,000 followers. and it led to sales, I'm sure. I don't have any way of quantifying that, but I've been doing very well on sales, and I'm sure it's because of the traffic. The same thing is true of this YouTube channel. I'm getting 20 to 30 views a video at most, and I keep releasing videos. And it's not necessarily because I'm trying to be YouTube famous, but I do know that the videos that I'm making are valuable and some people are enjoying them. And I know that eventually, as long as I keep on persisting, that they will be recognized. Whatever you're doing out there, whatever you're working toward, it might sound cliche and kind of Disney, but I do hope you keep working toward it. Because if you have a vision that you are convinced of 100% is going to be the future of something, whether it's your future or someone else's or humanity as a whole, the most valuable thing you can do is continue to push until you break through to the pocket of where everyone else is that would be excited about this thing. And the least valuable thing you can do is, as soon as you reach any friction, as soon as you start pedaling uphill, to quit. Anyway, I hope this was helpful in some way. Maybe it wasn't very coherent, but if you enjoy stuff like this, please like and subscribe. If you don't enjoy stuff like this, that's totally fine. It's not for everybody.